Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whenever it may be. This is the overnight. I am DM Foss, and joining me tonight is G23. How's it going, G?
It's going pretty good. Thanks for the invite.
Well, no problem. And Squib. How you doing, Squib?
I don't think I've ever been on your show before, but since I weasel on everybody's show, like some sort of badge of honor and et cetera, it just happened to be the right place at the right time, like a beer commercial. So I'm actually up, and I'm actually like on your time. What are you like 100 hours behind or something? So
Hey, I'm
yeah,
happy to have you.
I'm happy for the invite.
And Baron, how you doing tonight?
Doing good.
Well, that's good. Tonight is kind of I sort of forgot to come up with a topic. Um,
I forgot it was this week.
Can you put something like Black Rifle in the title?
Yeah, just kind of with the House Bill 1808.
Oh, don't worry about that.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't. I do not believe it'll pass the Senate, but
Well, that makes two of us.
it's just annoying that it. I was watching the hearing, and it shouldn't have even been a vote, but the way they kind of messed with it because it was 10 minutes to vote on whether they're going to vote, and then after 10 minutes they didn't have the votes to vote, but they managed to drag it out until could get all the votes to vote. But yeah, the and between that and PLACA, the PLCAA, which protects the firearm company from frivolous lawsuits. That one is, to me, more dangerous because that'll bankrupt all the companies if that were to go away. Is that
does that set a precedent for other companies to get sued? Though, for example, Ford for a drunk driver or Jack Daniels for a drunk driver.
It could, honestly.
So my thing is that these other big companies need to think before they send money to these politicians because, they might say, "Oh, well, it's just guns." That's it. If they go after this at a certain point, they're going to go after YouTube and Google because somebody bullied somebody online and they did something, right? Or GM made the car that this person drove into a crowd in Las Vegas with, or so and so distillery company made the alcohol that this person had before they did. So there's a slippery slope there, and I mean, I'm not into the fear mongering thing, but as somebody who is in the auto industry, I would hope that my corporate masters are looking at what's going on with the firearms industry because the auto industry is easy. It's low hanging fruit.
Yeah, I agree with you. And a lot of companies will give money to both sides to hedge their bet. They might give more to one side or the other that they support, but they'll still kick money, over to the other side just to be able to say, hey, we gave you money, maybe give us some
EOTech
support.
Yeah, they donated to all the people on the, what was it, the Defense Appropriation Committee or whatever it's called.
Yeah. So that's, I don't think that one I think would be easier for them to overturn, but I don't know. I don't think it will be either.
Which one of the two?
The
lawsuit.
Yeah. Just because, I don't think, because the way it's portrayed, is the you can sue them. Well, you can already sue them if it's a faulty product. It's just you can't sue them because somebody used it in a bad way.
Right,
Yeah,
you're talking
like-
about the difference between logic and emotion. Making
Yeah.
a faulty product and profiting off of it is logic. Suing them because some crap bag decided to use it in an unlawful way is emotion.
I chuck my toaster out the second floor window. That's not Black and Decker's fault.
Yeah, but if it hits some poor lady in the head,
I'm the one that's not using my toaster properly.
on the
No.
bottom of your toaster it says, "Do not chuck out second floor window."
What if they had a advertisement where they showed it getting chucked out of a window and still working?
No, if they showed you hiding in the tree and chucking it at deer or at people, then
Yeah.
No, you could chuck it out the second floor window and just be like, "Get your man card."
I have a prediction. It's a grim one. This will not pass the Senate, but it won't matter for us in Washington because we're going to get the same law anyway. Come next year,
Maybe.
unless there's some type of miracle.
I don't.
Well,
I kind of. Oh, go ahead, Gene.
in November, they want Oregonians to vote to give up their rights to be able to have those scary black rifles and magazines over 10 rounds and background checks if you are waiting periods if you want to buy a 1022. It kind of sounds like 1639 on steroids.
It's easier to pass the things at a state level, and if enough states pass it, then it's easier to pass it at a federal level.
Yep.
The amount of pushback that we give them means something.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if there's a big flip in the House, will that calm down all these big pushes statewide?
If for some reason it were to pass in the Senate and the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional, that would be a bigger sting than what happened to them in the 90s, which has lasted all this time. It's been the biggest, reminder that you don't want to do this. Now, don't forget their midterms coming up. So you got people going, well, I tried, right? And you got other people going, don't vote for him. He voted to kill your kids, and all the other lies and crap that they. So there's a lot of political posturing. They're not doing this right now because of a number of high profile mass murders out there. This number happens almost every year, right? They're doing it because it's midterms. It could work in their advantage. It could work against them. But if it were to pass in the Senate and it got challenged in the Supreme Court and they smack them down the way they've been doing lately, unless they're setting us up to fail, then that would make it a lot harder for them to try to do this again in 20 or 30 years. I'm not saying you should sit on the couch and eat Cheetos, but don't buy into the fear mongering. And don't get lazy. Find the happy medium and get involved. If you have a supposedly pro-2A senator in your district, call them, email them, write them, do everything it takes to say, hey, you said you're pro-2A, you dang well better stand by pro-2A. I, unfortunately, where I live, have an anti-2A senator. This guy's a total crap bag. And I could tell him whatever I want. He does not care. And I don't even live in a liberal place. I live in a conservative place. But he's got the votes from the inner city, et cetera, et cetera. And his name's been out there for 20 years. So they just vote for who they remember. They don't vote for the new guy. The new guy has an uphill battle to begin with. Then, like the last new guy, he totally fell apart when the election fraud was proven, and he just gave in like the wimp he was. And I would not support this guy. I wouldn't buy an apple off the SOB. So just understand that your voice matters. Leaving a voicemail and saying, this is who I am. this is where I live. This is how many people live in this house that are going to vote. And we will not vote for you if you vote for this unconstitutional. Make sure you say unconstitutional bill. Don't say anti-gun. Don't say I'm in the NRA. Don't say any. Just say I'm a constituent. This is who I am. This is where I live. And if you vote for this anti-Second Amendment or unconstitutional bill, you're going to lose the 3 votes in this household. Something like that. That makes a bigger difference than just going shall not be infringed.
And Washington is a good example of how things can change quickly, because we used to be even though it was a Democrat state, it was very gun friendly. We have open carry without a license. We had it's a shall issue state. When the FBI did our NICS checks, if you had your concealed carry, 15 minutes you walk out with your handgun, and then they were able to push through 1639, which now any semi-automatic rifle, so even when I bought my Marlin was after 1639, there's an additional 10-day wait and some super scrutiny background check to make sure you're even more safe to own them.
Yeah, they put you on a list and check your medical every year, make sure you haven't lost your mind.
And that all happened quickly, which it's a whole thing where it should never even have come up for a vote, because they broke the rules for getting to vote. But
and safe schools and safe communities.
Yeah,
I don't
want to get into it
okay.
Because only a few of us here are from Washington, so nobody else is going to care about that part.
Lucky bastards.
Wow, that's different. I've seen the shows where they just invite panelists from the state, and all they talk about is what's going on in their state. And then when somebody from another state mentions, "Hey, what about on the federal?" I don't care. We only want to talk about this. It's like, well, that's why you got 4 people watching, dude. No, I get why you're saying that, but there is somewhat of a point, though. If it happens where you're at, and then happens the next state, before you know it, it's over here. So whatever you guys can do to stop it there, we appreciate. But when you don't stop it, we're going to blame you for everything, like we do California.
I know. So that's why, even if you have good gun laws in your state, you still need to be aware of what's going on and be active with what's going on.
I'm hoping that they don't reelect our governor, because if she goes and we get a Republican governor, we got constitutional carry. But if she stays in office, we ain't going to get it. Indiana got it and Ohio got it. And Michigan typically does whatever the neighboring states do, but not with this one in office. She can't take our rights. They'll fry her if she tries. Right? Minor little this and that's nobody's going to care about. But something like saying, we're going to take away shall issue, they'll fry her. But she can block constitutional carry. We get a Republican governor. It's like, hey, the neighbors got it. Why don't we have it? It's like, oh, yeah, we can't. We got to keep up with the Joneses. So we got the opposite problem on this side of the country.
Constitutional carry, the big push in the, recently, where there's half the states are constitutional carry now, that you always have to remember that there's been a big push towards favorable gun laws. So all this media that you hear that makes it sound like this big flood of anti gun wave that's coming. You got to remember, there's been this big push where half the states you can carry without a license now. And if that wasn't there, then I would be more concerned that we were heading completely in the wrong way. But, that the strides in the Supreme Court rulings, there's a lot of positive there that you have to remember. And it's, it usually comes down to, when I talk about this, that I'll talk conservative side and liberal side, just because it's easier to make the argument that way. But The liberal side, the lefty side, hate gun side, they have a better spin machine than the right has. So you hear a lot and it gets repeated a lot, and there's a lot of falsehood there, and you have to remember that just because a lot of people are repeating the same garbage doesn't mean that's the way it's going. They just want you to think it that way. But so yeah, go ahead.
I would say be careful, Foss, because if you say anything positive about 2A, you're going to lose like 10 subs. The thing is, doom and gloom sells. It sells on both sides. And that's just it. I don't think our side's doing anybody any favors by pushing doom and gloom. I get the premise behind it from our perspective. If you don't push doom and gloom, Cheeto Man won't get off the couch and support GOA or go to a rally or have that conversation or all the other things that we can do as positive ambassadors to the Second Amendment, right? I get that. It's kind of insulting to somebody like me who's been doing this before there was a YouTube and an internet and stuff. And so I get from that standpoint. But from the other standpoint, besides being insulted, it also helps push the lies the other side is selling. So I think words don't hurt unless you let them, but language is important. If we, as Second Amendment ambassadors, don't watch our language, we're giving credibility to the lies. And I'm past sick of the lies. I've been dealing with the lies for decades, and I'm not a criminal. I'm not somebody waiting for my time to commit some sort of crime or anything. I don't agree with these unconstitutional laws. I abide by them as a good ambassador, but I'm doing everything in my power to change them. And fear mongering, it builds analytics, it sells merch, it does other stuff, and it gets Cheeto Man off the couch. But in some ways, I think long term, it's bad for our side.
I'll agree with you, and I've seen people argue that in comment sections where, well, if you don't blow it, basically saying if you don't blow it out of proportion, then people aren't going to act. Well, I have a huge problem with that, especially because the people, the channels that they're commenting on, are making money off of it too. Where they might say this is bad, and then the fear mongering part, but they've got their hand in the jar where they're making money off what's going on.
I
fear monger for free. I don't know about anyone else.
You do it for free? Yeah. I say all the time, all these people, NRA bad, GOA good. I'm not going to say the NRA is great, but the GOA does the same thing. The FPC does the same thing. The 2AF does the same thing. No, they do different. They're all the same. Look at your inbox. Look at your junk email. Check your mailbox for your snail mail. They all go out there and fearmonger for your money. Now, they're necessary evils. If we don't give them money, they're not going to go out there and fight for us. But none of them, I don't care. One of them has this thing. We want to be worked out of a job. BS, okay? They all want gun control to exist because they make money that way. Just like certain social media, personalities need that there in order to. They're not going to switch to like cooking and fishing and travel videos and stuff like that. But on the other hand, they're also the ones that fight for us. They're also the ones that put this information out there for the masses. It's a necessary evil, unfortunately. So you have to balance it. You have to make an individual judgment call. Do I want to give them money? Do I not? Do I only want to give them this much? Do I want to give money every time I get an email? You'll be broke if you do that, by the way. And it's almost the same thing with your politicians. So just understand that some of your favorite YouTubers or this gun rights organization that you think is benign doesn't give a crap about anything other than how much money you are going to provide for them. The other things they do, they might be pro 2A. They might not want to lose their Second Amendment rights. They might like Glocks, whatever it is, right? But it's about revenue. There's a certain level of common sense and critical thinking and balance that you as an individual can make. And it's individual decision. It's not what I say. It's not what anybody on the panel says, it's what you want to do. And if you have the courage to stand behind your choice on whether or not you want to give money or how often or how much or who you want to vote for or others, you're in the right direction to having what it takes to fight for your constitutional rights, because it's very easy to be to end up in a defeatist attitude and say, why should I bother, and believe all the doom and gloom and just throw your hands in the air and give up and walk away, and you're no good to anybody, yourself, your children, your great grandchildren, whoever. You're no longer any good to anybody. So don't let the doom and gloom get you, but also don't stick your head in the sand and go, everything's fine because we have a Republican in the White House. That didn't work either. Make your decision and don't worry about what anybody says about even me. I'm critical of the way some people waste their resources, but you know what? They're doing something that's better than sitting on a couch eating Cheetos. So don't worry about what other people think and do your own thing.
Yep. I'll agree with that. And
how do you know I'm eating Cheetos, by the way?
Do you have a Mosin, Nagant, or SKS?
Maybe.
I'm just saying, Cheeto Man sits on the couch with a bag of Cheetos and his Mosin or an SKS, stroking it, eating his Cheetos while the rest of us go out there and do the work. You know, people can be critical of the different gun rights organizations or different channels or different politicians or whatnot. None of them are angels. I'm not an angel. And just because I have this personal opinion doesn't mean, oh, well, we better just do what he says. Be careful of the person who says we all need to just work together, but then they only want to do it their way. All right. The fact that we're all individuals keeps the other side guessing. They can't use one playbook, one standard, one procedure, one idea against all of us. There are millions of us, and we all are in it for different reasons. We all have been in it for different amounts of times. We all come from different backgrounds. The 2A culture is so diverse that they can do this, and it's only going to affect a certain percentage of us, and the rest of us are out there fighting strong. So when we all become the same, that's when they can knock us all down one in a row, or just like in a row, I should say. And that's what I mean. Don't let what I say or anybody else say stop you from doing what you think is best. I've got a friend who writes letters. Going to rallies is impractical for him. Writing letters is practical for him. I have written letters, and I have gotten negative results from writing letters. Therefore, I don't write letters. I don't think writing letters is productive. But the fact that he writes letters still is somebody out there in the fight. Just because I don't agree, because I've had a negative, doesn't mean that it's not working or it's not something. So don't let other people, including me, discourage you. Stay in the fight, and just remember, this fight will never end. When we have phasers, the fight will not end, okay? There's not going to be this magical Supreme Court ruling that says shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed, hands off, and all the gun laws go away the next day. This will be handed down to our great-great-grandchildren if there's still a Second Amendment. When they repeal the Second Amendment, it's gone. But until they do that, it's a fight, and it's a fight we're going to have to pass on to the next generation, and it doesn't matter if we have lightsabers and phasers, that's going to be affected by the Second Amendment. So if you just say, well, I'm only going to be in it for so long and then I'm going to quit, you're no good. So do what you think is best, adjust your tactics as you get more experienced in this, and just stay in the fight. If you're tired, take a break, but don't take a break for too long, because if you do, you'll quit and you won't come back. And just understand, this is a lifetime fight.
Yeah, and you can, even if you just send an email, email your congressperson or your senator, that's something. That's a low effort something that, just takes a couple of minutes to fire off an email giving your opinion. If you want to be more involved, you can call them. and you'll talk to their intern, and they're very polite to you, if you're polite to them, and helpful, even though, I think all of our politicians, our senators our senators are Democrats, and my congressperson is Democrat, but, they were very polite and helpful, the first time I called. It doesn't take a lot of effort to do something. If you're not a great orator, you don't have to stand up and give speeches. If there's a rally, go hang out at the rally. Just show up and be seen. The rallies, especially in Washington, they're really disappointing because, the last one, there's like 50 people maybe that were there, but that's 50 people that were standing up for their rights.
Foss, have you ever been to a rally with like over 1,000 people?
No.
Dude, it's something to see. When you come around the corner, right, you're walking, you can hear the noise, but you don't know what it is because you're trying to get to the courthouse or the Capitol building. And you come around the corner and you look, and they've got it fenced in with state police around the perimeter. And you're looking at the masses, and they're on the steps and all the way down and into the courtyard. And you're just going, yes. And there are guns everywhere, and nobody's flagging anybody. Nobody's menacing anybody. Nobody's threatening anybody. And it's a beautiful sight. It's patriotism. It's America.
Unfortunately, Squib, both Washington and Oregon have banned firearms at rallies.
Well, Washington, it's open carry. You can't open
Okay.
carry. You can still conceal carry.
I know it's a heck of a drive, but you guys ought to try Columbus, Ohio. Those guys know how to throw a rally.
Wonder if I'm welcome in Ohio. What do you think, Foss?
What did you do?
One way to find out.
Oh, I'm not allowed to talk about that.
Yeah. For another time. Not on the air. How's it going, Pacifist? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, brother? Thank you for the invite.
No problem, brother.
What's going on, Baron, G23, and Squib? Good to see you guys.
Thanks for coming on.
I invited you to a panel earlier, and you're like, you're not worth my time.
I was literally clicking enter studio when you went to the outro. I was like, son of a mother, let's go.
Don't let him fool you. It was peer pressure. I was twisting his arm. You got to have some Eastern time zone representation. You guys, it's like the afternoon. The sun is still up where you're at. And, over here, it's like the next day. You want to know what the lottery numbers are for the future? I can tell you.
I don't play the lottery.
What if you had won the $1 billion?
Well, that's possible, but I also didn't lose any money.
Did somebody win that lottery tonight?
Yes, they did.
$1.3 billion.
Dude, I was going to every party store buying one ticket. The guys are giving me looks they're like, one? You just want one? Yep, I want one. I'm buying beer and lottery tickets. I came home with a butt ton of beer and a butt ton of paper. And the wife goes, one at each? I'm like, not you too.
Yeah, I bought one. I figured $1. What the hell? If it gets me $1.3 billion, it was well worth that $1 spent.
Yeah, I know I can't win if I don't play, and I'm okay with that. I've made peace with it.
So I'm never going to meet you in Vegas, huh?
Well, sure, I can just go to Vegas. I don't need to be a billionaire to go to Vegas.
Well, no, you won't win $1 billion there, but you might win $160 off of 20.
Every now and again, I'll get scratch tickets just, as a lark, but, not very often.
I knew it.
Do you get those like cheap $2 pull tab type lottery tickets, or do you go all in for the $10 to $20 high payout lottery tickets?
you can't really find pull tabs anywhere. They used to mainly be at bars and bowling alleys.
Yeah, where do I get these pull tabs? Because I'll drive to that state, I'll buy ammo all the way there and all the way back, and bring home a bunch of these tickets for the wife.
All right, we'll see you in Londonderry, Squib.
Where the heck is that?
It's in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire? All right.
Come on,
So-
we got pull tabs forever up here.
So the rule is every time I travel to a 2A event or something like that, I got to buy lottery tickets and out-of-state liquor. And if we win something big, then we'll drive back to cash it in. Well, that hasn't happened yet, obviously. If we win like $2, if we know somebody, a YouTuber out there, we'll just mail it to them and be like, here, man, buy yourself nothing. But I've never heard of these pull tabs. If I come home with this, first off, she's going to be like, what is this? Then after she messes with it, she'll be like, when are you going back to go get me more?
So New Hampshire is tax-free too, so you can buy a bottle of Crown Royal up here for like $22.
I would be looking for something that's made there locally, not something I can get here. When I travel out of state, I buy stuff that I can't have shipped to Michigan, or I find out later I can, and I spent my money anyhow. Like when I was in South Dakota, I bought some wine and some whiskey that was from there, and when I was in Iowa, I bought some like a schnapps that I only know is sold in Iowa and whatnot. But yeah, I try to pick up lottery tickets too. I'm hoping that one day we have an out of state that is a really big winner, and it's absolutely worth it to drive back to cash it in, because you cannot cash in like the Mega Millions or Powerball in your state, even if your state plays it, if you bought it in another state. We found that out the hard way. We bought a bunch of tickets in Arizona, drove to New Mexico, and they're like, yeah, we can't cash these in. They were winners, and it's like $12, $20, and it's like, well, we ain't driving 4 hours back just to cash this thing in. So lesson learned.
Well, the one thing you can buy in southern New Hampshire is Massachusetts contention.
What the heck is that?
It's contention.
Yeah, that's a big word. Dude, I'm a Marine. We don't, that's too many syllables.
Massachusetts, they thrive to be like, they want the life of New Hampshire, but they suffer down in Massachusetts.
Oh,
So they hold serious contempt towards people that have the freedom up here in New Hampshire, like me, especially the people that have escaped Massachusetts to New Hampshire.
Faust, is that like the people on one side of the Cascades and the people on the other side of the Cascades?
Yes, they hold no contention.
Okay, now I understand better. All right, I gotcha.
So, pacifist, when you pull your pull tabs, do you do one at a time, or do you bend the edge and then rip them all at once?
Oh, one at a time. I love the drama of it.
He savors it like a wine.
I savor that possible $10 prize.
For Washington's scratch tickets, you used to be able to look them up so you could see how many tickets were left out there, how many have paid out, and you can kind of research which ones gives you the best odds. I don't know if they still have all that info on there on the website, but that's what I would do. When I would play, I'd look up the different scratch tickets to see which one gave me the best odds.
Well, a lot of places down here, like the Elks Club and the Irish American Club and the Italian American Club, they have the localized pull tabs where they buy them directly from the vendor, and it's just a local club prize.
Well, that's the way all the pull tabs are. The state doesn't do any pull tabs, just scratch tickets. So when you find them, it's just that business will buy. They could basically come in a garbage bag, and then they load their machines.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I played any pull tabs.
So Oregon used to have pull tabs. You could go to like the Chevron station and throw a quarter in the machine and get them. But they've done away with that and gone all to video poker.
Yeah, the only time I play video poker is at Reno, just for the free drinks. $5 and you can sit there for an hour, get free drinks.
So were you drinking Zima, or was it like?
Oh, really?
No, well, I don't drink anymore. But when I did, I would usually start with a Greyhound,
You quitter.
That's all right.
And
That's
then-
more for me.
and then an Amaretto Sour.
Have you seen Squib's drink videos?
Yeah.
But
I'm
no,
still waiting.
you actually are playing the system fairly efficiently, because we played the system in Vegas where we break even. The amount of money we lose on the slots, we would have paid that much or more for the drinks and cocktail waitress, even with the tips. It's a break even. And up here, like in Detroit, they got 3 casinos. There's no cocktail waitresses. They don't comp you drinks up here. It's
Wow.
BS. Yeah, you go to Vegas, they comp you drinks. Now, not the way you might think. They're not bringing them every 20 minutes unless like you're like the only person on the floor and you're giving her $10 tips, and then they're bringing them every 20 minutes. But the amount we get in drinks, if you look at what they charge at the bar, yeah, we're breaking even, or maybe even making a little bit of money if we lose. If we win on a slot and we get our drinks, then it's a win-win. But that's kind of what you got to do. You got to look for the comps in Vegas, because everything is a scam, and they don't care if they keep bringing drinks, because that ain't costing them nothing. They want that money. You might lose $20 or $40, but at $20 a round at the bar in the casino, what are you really losing? And if you ask the waitress nicely, she'll bring you 2 drinks instead of 1, stuff like that. You don't always get that, but if you leave a decent tip the first time around, they'll remember you, and they'll come right back, because everybody else is giving them no tips or $2. And if you're just simply giving them $10 every time they come by, they're going to start coming by faster. Just little things you can do, because the house has the advantage. And when you do win big, you cash out and you get the heck out of there. You don't stick around and lose it all.
Well, when the video poker was just if I was hanging out and wanted to drink, and then if I was gambling, we'd stay at the Pepper Mill, which had a single zero roulette table. And then if you play the rows, it gives you your best odds. You only win a little bit, like 1 chip per win, and then when you lose a lot. But it's the best odds on the table. And when I would win back what I brought, if I had $100, if I won $100, I'd put away the original $100 so that I go home, with what I came with, and then whatever else I won or lost didn't matter.
Yep, and that's kind of the way you do it. You got the right mindset, because if you go there thinking, see, this is the thing. I say I go to Vegas like once or twice a year, and everybody thinks I'm a high roller, like I'm dumping 10 grand at a table or whatever. It's like, no, dude, no, I'm dumping 10 grand at Spartan Arms up in North Las Vegas. Okay, I'm not, but no, really, people who've never been, or who've been once and then maybe just got taken, they might think it's something different, but you can actually kind of play the system where you have a good time, you relax, you get some free food, you get some free drinks, and you break even, or you only lose a little bit. But until you go and until you get used to the system, yeah, it's a little bit, and you're going to Reno, which is like going to Laughlin. It's a little bit different. The odds might be a little bit better there, but it's a shorter drive. So that's another thing. You just have to get to know the area and get to know the system. But it doesn't mean that you're like some high roller, or you're every time you go in there, you're going to scam them or something else like that. It's about relaxing and having a good time.
Yep. And, I won't gamble anything I'm not willing to lose. Same as I won't lend out anything I'm not willing to lose.
Yep. I have the same exact policy, the exact word for word.
It's all right, Baron.
That's okay. I'm just a recovering gambling and alcoholic addict. No problem. I'm fine.
It'll be all right, man. We're here for you.
It sounded like I should relapse. Sounds pretty nice. What are you talking about?
The thing is, you can have nice things if you don't This is part of the reason why I try to be a good ambassador for the Second Amendment. I don't agree with these laws. I get in arguments with people all the time. Oh, you obey the laws, you agree with them. No, I don't agree with them, but I also don't want to lose my stuff. All right. Yeah, it's BS. The deck is stacked against us, and we're trying to change them. But if I blatantly, knowingly go out there and publicly break the laws and go, what are you going to do? They're going to come down on me. So if I don't want to stop enjoying alcohol, then I'm not going to get a DUI, right? If I don't want to have my firearms confiscated and lose my concealed carry permit, I'm not going to go break a firearm law or commit some other felony or something that's going to have that taken away or whatever the heck it is. And if somebody's made a mistake in the past, I think they should get an opportunity for a second chance, but I think they should also work their ass off to prove that they're worthy of that second chance and that they really do want to make amends. So whether, when somebody says, I'm an alcoholic, when's the last time you had a drink? 30 years ago. Dude, you're not an alcoholic. You ain't had a drink in 30 years. I'm not going to just hand them a bottle and say, here, man, have at it, because maybe that does cause them to relapse. But I mean, it's been 30 years. You're not an alcoholic. Obviously, you kicked its butt. So that's just my opinion.
Something you said brought something to mind about, you don't believe in the laws, but you're following them. You're not going to go out and break them. And, what came to mind was CRS and what he was doing, baiting the ATF and pushing this, which that's fine if he wants to fight, but he was not prepared for the consequences. If you're going to do stuff like that, have your ducks in a row, have your lawyer already, and understand you can lose everything. And if you're prepared to do that for what you believe in, that's fine. He was not prepared for it. Even, he had said basically some of the stuff he was doing was to bait the ATF because he thought he, would get one over on them and show them to be stupid. Well, when he went to jail, then he panicked because he wasn't ready for what happened. There are times where that stuff like that needs to happen, but you have to understand what's going to happen and then be ready for what's going to happen.
So he technically was not breaking the law with the auto key card promotion that he was doing.
He was.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there was other stuff that he had done, but he was taunting them, and rightly or wrongly, there was fallout to what was happening. And depending on how, I think they might end up just dropping the case because they don't want to take this to the Supreme Court because it'll get thrown out.
If you made a YouTube video saying, I'm going to conceal carry at every post office I drive by and come and get me, and then a couple weeks or a couple months later, the postal police, the post office actually has their own police department, whatever, tax money wasted, is sitting there waiting for you because they figured out who you are and where you live. And they'll just put an agent in every post office for 3 counties. And you come walking in and they go, lift your shirt, sir. And you go, hey, what's this? And be like, lift your shirt. And you're concealed carrying and they take you away. You asked for trouble. You might go, yeah, my constitutional rights. Well, it doesn't matter. Now, I'm not going to encourage somebody to conceal carry in the post office. I'm not going to encourage them to not. You have to make a personal decision. But understand this. It's more than you just getting arrested. It's all of us getting arrested. Because if that makes the 6 o'clock news or the national news or anything else that gets back and some politician uses it against us, then you just embarrassed or affected the entire Second Amendment culture. So it's more than just you going to jail and setting up a GoFundMe, which you profit off of in the end, like so many other things you profit off of. It's all of us get labeled as you because you exercise poor judgment. You were irresponsible. You were a bad ambassador. So if it's something that's only going to affect you and it's not going to affect anybody else ever, and you do it, so be it. But if it affects me, I'm going to come onto my channel and I'm going to blast you openly.
It's illegal to carry in a post office?
Yes.
Oh
It's
yeah.
a federal offense.
You
It is a
can't-
federal
Oops.
offense.
You can't carry in the parking lot of a post office.
Right. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it.
You can't carry into a bank.
Yes, you can.
You can?
Yes,
Yeah.
in Michigan you can. Yeah, yeah.
It all depends on what your state law is.
Washington, hopefully you can.
Do they
It
have
may be-
these signs in Braille for blind people to carry?
In some states, those signs don't hold the weight of law. That's why what happened in Indiana wasn't, all these anti-gunners came on. Even I didn't know what the law was there. And I said, did he break the law because of this sign? And I got blasted in the comment sections like, hey, I didn't do my research, which I normally I do, but this time I didn't. And I got rightly so blasted. And there were all these anti-gunners out there saying, hey, the sign said, the sign doesn't hold the weight of law in Indiana. It doesn't hold the weight of law in Alabama. It doesn't hold the weight of law in Michigan. It doesn't hold the weight of law. It holds the weight of law in Texas. So it just depends on what your state laws are, and they vary from state to state. So it's good to be aware of your laws. It's good to be aware of changes in your laws, and it's good to be involved in getting these laws changed. I wanted national reciprocity. I wanted the federal freaking government to say if you had a carry permit in your state, no other state could deny you. And that means if your state, you can carry 15 rounds and the other state has a 10-round limit, they can go get bent because you can conceal carry in that state with your gun with a 15-round mag, and they can just suck it because the federal government overrules everything. But that didn't happen because everybody was too busy whining about their stupid bump stocks, and all that went away. Good job, guys.
Well,
You let them
Michigan-
distract you.
Montana representative just reintroduced a reciprocity bill, so we'll see if that goes anywhere.
I'd like to see it go somewhere because there is no reason why you can drive. I have no fault insurance in Michigan. For those of you who don't know, if somebody hits me in an accident, my insurance pays my repair bill, my medical bills, all that other stuff. Their insurance doesn't. If I go to a state where they don't have no fault insurance, because I think there's only like 14 states with it, I still have no fault insurance. If somebody T-bones me in Las Vegas, I have Michigan insurance, which is better than any insurance you can buy in Nevada, right? So why can't I conceal carry in Nevada the same way with the same gun and the same as I can in Michigan? So why will the state of Nevada or Arizona or New Mexico or Oklahoma or whoever report if I get a speeding ticket to the state of Michigan? So the state of Michigan reports to my car insurance so that my insurance rates go up for 7 years. Why is that? But I can't carry a gun in those states. So if they're going to have reciprocity, they need to have reciprocity across the board, and the federal government needs to push it.
Well,
The federal government says marijuana is illegal, but how many states have legalized marijuana? And the federal government hasn't come in there and put their jackboot down, right? So if you're going to do that for that, then you dang well better honor the Second Amendment.
well, you look at your license, your driver's license. Every state respects your driver's license. Marriage license. Every state will respect your marriage license. My marriage license is from Tokyo, and it'll be honored in every 50 state. So a constitutional right should also be, honored in all 50 states.
I just applied for my third marriage license.
Third, I thought it was their 13th.
Hey, dude, don't worry. Third time's a charm. I'm speaking from experience.
So, yeah, the Montana representative used that same argument that, your driver's license is recognized federally, your marriage license is recognized federally, and everything, and so why shouldn't your state laws around the 2A be recognized federally? So if your state is a constitutional carry state, If you go to California, you should be able to carry constitutionally. If you go to, New Jersey, where you can't have hollow points, if your state allows it, then you should be able to have it.
I agree with you, G23, because these states want your tax revenue. They want your tourist revenue. I love going to California. I do. I used to live there. Okay. And a lot of people, California, how are you? I don't carry a gun when I go there. I don't break their stupid laws. I don't. Oh, well, don't you feel unsafe? You got to be kidding me. Really? It's California. Those people are pansies. But it's a beautiful state. There's a lot to do. I don't go there as often as I'd like. But why is my marriage license from Nevada, even though I live in Michigan, my marriage license from Nevada is good in California. My car insurance from Michigan, my registration, my driver's license is good there. My birth certificate from Japan is good but I can't carry a gun there according to my own state laws. It's BS. And some of these states don't think about that because I guess they're so narrow-minded, they don't think about how many tourists don't show up. Because I've talked to people in the Second Amendment culture who go, California, why would you go there? I'll never go there. It's like, dude, have you ever been there? No, and I'll never will. And it's like, dude, you ought to go. It's really something to see. No way, I can't carry my gun and blah, blah, blah. Well, I guess they don't want our money. But that's what these politicians are really driven by. At the end of the day, it's all money. And they're losing a lot of revenue by saying, my state doesn't want you.
Welcome to the show, DJ.
Glad to be here, Baron.
Glad to have you. Let me go through and say hello to everybody out in the live chat, which I didn't
Before you do that, I want to say hello, DJ 450 Bushmaster.
Thank you. Thank you.
But we had Patriot in the Dark, 2 Live Moo, Defense Dad, PNW Woods, Gunmetal Guy USA, Misha Ann, Wesley Foster, Giz Gary, and Hacho Fett. And for those that are already on the panel, I'm not saying your name because you're already on the panel. Mandatory care.
Hey, they're doing double duty. You know the drill?
Say my name.
Got barbecue. Is that everybody? Oh, X Adam 1. X Adam 1's out there. I think that's everybody.
X Adam 1 dropped a video. Let's see, medical pack. He dropped a medical pack video. I've got it here. I haven't watched it yet, but I plan to. So go check that out.
M. Gabriel. And Daniel. Daniel was out there. I think that's everybody. Did I say Mad Sexy? Well, I'm going to say it again. Mad Sexy.
Grim 90 popped in.
Oop. There he is at the bottom. Ozzy Osbourne and Grim 90. Thanks for staying up late with us. Oh.
Divorce is even scarier, by the way.
No way, dude. That's like taking a crap after holding it in all day. It feels like relief.
Do you know why divorce is so expensive?
Is this
You're
worth
paying
it?
for both lawyers.
It's worth every damn penny.
Yep.
I'll take your word for it, and hopefully we'll never have to find out for myself.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have to find out. But if you ever do, it's going to be so painful in the beginning. But then when you get on the other side of it, you're going to be like, yes.
Well, there's the 10% that have really good marriages that are way more beneficial than getting a divorce. But
well, could they have their wives talk to all the other
for the 90% of us, divorce is worth it. Whatever it costs. Yes, I'll take that.
Little piece of advice, maybe find a woman who's been divorced as many times as you and just look her in the eye, stare down contest, and then realize that you're both screwed. So she She just makes it work.
I
Yeah,
have been.
Go ahead.
Go, Foss.
I was just gonna say, I've have said before, when I met my wife, she was exactly what I needed at that time. 'Cause I, was just kind of drifting around, not, didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't know where I wanted to be, and she helped kind of settle me down and get my shit together.
My two ex-wives changed. The first one changed immediately after we were married, and she figured she had me trapped. Completely changed. And then my second ex-wife changed as soon as we had a child.
Bait and
Completely
switch.
changed.
Bait and switch. Here's the thing. The key is communication before you get married and after you get married. And even after you've been married a long time and you're old and you're tired and you really don't give a crap anymore. If you can't communicate with them, it's going to be a problem.
Yep.
I have to say this, that with my first wife, I started buying guns right before we got divorced, and she didn't even know. My second wife, she was pro 2A, and guns never even came into the equation. All the crap she played during the divorce, after divorce, and all the other stuff, guns never came into the equation because she was 2A, and she knew better than to even say the word gun in a courtroom. And my current wife, she was not pro-gun when I met her, but after she saw that I'm not some sort of psycho or a criminal, I was a good ambassador to the Second Amendment, despite what her family wants to tell her about people like me. Now she's pro-gun, and she was concealed carrying for the first time a couple of weeks ago. I was pretty proud of her. She went to Walmart with a Shield Easy in her purse, and when we got it back out in the parking lot after we bought what we bought, I said, "Congratulations, you just popped your cherry." And she said, "What?" And I said, "The first thing you do when you conceal carry is you go to Walmart." And she goes, "What?" I go, "Don't worry. You'll start talking to other people, and they'll be like, 'Yeah, did you go to Walmart?'" So, the thing is, you don't have to convert somebody. You don't have to lie to them. You don't have to coerce them. You have to communicate with them. And when you communicate with them, you'll find out what their true colors are. You'll find out who they really are, what they're really like. Don't jump into something too soon, but don't drag it out too long. And you'll find that person, or maybe you won't, because maybe you're the kind of person that needs to be alone. You want to be alone, or that sort of thing. If you make a bad decision, make a bad choice, and you keep making that same bad choice, that woman that complains that every guy that she gets uses her and dumps her, and then she goes for the same exact guy, it's a problem. The guy who goes for that same woman that it does the bait and switch, it's the same sort of problem. Learn from your mistakes, move on, and don't give up. But if you would rather be alone, then do that, be smart about it, and just stay alone. There's nothing wrong with that either. Knowing what you want and going after what you want, whether it be a relationship, a real relationship, or just living your own, is fine. But just know what you want first. If you don't know what you want, then you're going to make a bad choice.
I knew on our second date that I would marry my wife, but
Wow.
I told her we're going to date for 2 years before we get married. And we dated for 2 years, and then we got married.
Yeah, now see, I tell people go through every season with them, because people are different with the seasons, especially if you live in a state where there's a seasonal change. 2 years, that's going twice. That's going above and beyond. But yeah, I've rushed into marriages. Bad idea. Other people I've heard of, bad idea. I've also known the people who've been engaged for 10 years. What's the point? You're not serious. So there's a happy medium.
So let me just say a quick hello to Drew Bradley and Ting Ting's out there.
So, I've been with my woman since 2001, and we were together just a very short time before we knew that it was going to last, and we've been together for 21 years now.
You're an anomaly. You should play the lottery.
I do, and I still haven't won yet.
Well,
Because you already won the lottery.
Yeah, you already won the lottery once, so you ain't gonna win again, dude.
So I was at the range today with a friend of mine from Massachusetts who's been married for a while. He's got multiple children with this woman, and she turned on his location device on his phone, and she kept blowing up his phone through the entire day. And she's like, "Are you coming home yet? You haven't, moved. I can see your location. Blah blah blah." He hadn't been to the range for like months. Like months. He's not the type of guy that goes to the range every single weekend, this and that and blah blah blah, and he's wasting time, neglecting his children and this and that. He's quite the opposite. He's a very good father, very good husband, but he takes one day for himself and she can't stop blowing up his phone. I'm like, that's just not right. And that's how both of my ex-wives were exactly like that. One was extremely jealous and controlling, and the second one was extremely controlling.
Yeah, one of the younger guys I work with, he's engaged to a girl from the plant that she's got a questionable past. That right there's a red flag. People can change. It's rare, but they can change. But he was telling me every day stuff that she was doing, or while I was at work, she's blowing up his phone and doing other things that I knew at my age. You do not want to be married to this girl, but he's bound and determined to marry her, and more than likely she's going to get off the pill, baby trap him, divorce him, take him for child support, kick him to the curb, go after another guy, and he's just going to be the next guy in line. And I tried to tell him this without hurting his feelings, because he's soft, he's sensitive, he's young, and I maybe I just wasn't blunt enough. But on the other hand, it's not my job either. He's just going to have to learn the hard way, like some of us.
Yeah, there's, and I'm not, this is not saying anything towards you, Squib, or Pacifist. A lot of times there are red flags that people will overlook.
Oh, no, it's okay. I did with the first two. I was a total idiot. I made those. It was a heck of a lesson to learn. The only thing I really had going for me is that they were pro, or at least the second one was pro 2A. But no, I'm not gonna lie and say I'm not something I wasn't. I screwed up. And when I try to tell somebody, if they don't want to listen, I start thinking, how was I? I wouldn't listen back then either. So some of you guys luck out and you're an anomaly. You win the lottery when you're young and everything's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. And other guys are like, I've been burned way too many times. I'm never going to do this again. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But it's kind of like making your decision on whether or not you're going to obey an unconstitutional law or not. Just understand that your decision could affect more than just you. If you have kids, stuff like that, it's one of those things where you're going to be selfish. Can you be selfish, right?
See, when I met my wife, I was in the attempt to change my lifestyle, because I wasn't the greatest of people, so I was slinging dope and running with gangs and causing problems and everything. And she kind of helped me realize where the straight path was, and now I've got my rights back, and I'm a complete member of society, So glad I didn't end up in prison the rest of my life.
So did the Glock thing happen before or after? I had to do it.
I figured, I'd had enough Glocks pointed at me. I should probably get one, right?
Now there's some logic there.
Well, G23s are pretty gangster.
It's gangsta.
The one time I didn't drop my R.
You know where all those R's end up, right?
Where's that?
West Virginia. That's where you wash your clothes.
I had when I first started driving truck, I had a co-driver from Kentucky, and he's like, you used to get a major fine if you drove into California and your truck wasn't washed. And he's like, we should wash our truck before we go into California. I'm like, what the fuck is wash? What the hell is wash? He's like, we'll get a fine if we don't wash our truck before we go into California. I'm like, okay, wash? What the hell is that?
I moved up here to Michigan, and people were washing. They were washing everything. I'm like, wash? What the heck is that?
Yeah, you will hear people say "worsh" in Nebraska as well. I've not heard it on the Iowa side, but rural Nebraskans will say "worsh."
Isn't that so strange? Like in upstate New York, they take on the mentality of rednecks. They call themselves rednecks, and they play toilet seat horseshoes, and they wash their trucks and all that crap. I'm like, you're in upstate New York. What the hell is going on here?
If they're not living
Like,
in a
how does
double
that
wide,
happen?
they're not a real redneck.
How does that happen? Upstate New York, and they consider themselves like deep South folk.
Now, DJ, I always give P11 crap because I say, you sound like a Canadian, eh? And he goes, no, I don't. Then I'm like, all right, then you sound like you're from Minnesota. And he's like, no, I do not sound like I'm. But the Nebraska accent, I suppose it's not as bad as South Dakota or North Dakota or Canada, but it's got roots in that Canadian thing. I had to get adjusted to the whole Canadian thing when I moved up here from down south because I had never been around, I'd never seen hockey or didn't know about the A thing or anything. And there are people in this area that sort of have that Canadian accent because of their heritage or because they used to be Canadian citizens and they jumped across the border. I knew a guy pro 2A as anybody else, and he got his American citizenship. He got the hell out of Canada. He came over here and he started buying NFA items like crazy. I'm like, that's America.
The best thing about upstate New York is Labatt Blue.
Yeah. I didn't know what that was in Georgia either. I'm like, I get up here, it's like, what's Labatt? It's like, what's Labatt?
Although my uncle that I grew up hunting with in upstate New York. He's got a 3-acre property up there. He's into the Molson. He loves the Molson, even though Labatt Blue is the dominant beverage of choice up there.
Yeah, Molson is a Canadian beer as well, but I kind of thought of that more as a Western Canadian beer, and Labatt is more of an Eastern Canadian. It's kind of interesting being on this side of the border. Like, I remember as a teenager going to the store and buying comic books, and I'd pay with cash, and they'd give me change back, and I'd get these Canadian coins. And at first I thought it was cool because down south, if you got a Canadian penny, man, you could trade somebody a dime or a quarter for that because like, wow, it's from Canada. Right up here, they just use it like regular coins. But when I get all my change back and it's all in loonies and toonies and stuff, and I'm going, hey, what the heck? They're like, oh, it's good. And I bring it back to the comic book store and pay with Canadian money, and they'd take it. And I'm like, this is weird, but it's, not dollar bills, but coins. They all look the same. But yeah, that's something, a culture shock when you move from one part of the country to the other.
In Eastern Washington, I used to work at a grocery store that one of their things was they'd give out $2 bills with your change. As change. And there was somebody that would come, I forget where he came from, who would come and buy them for $3. So I would sell him $2 bills for $3 every time he'd come.
Can't you just get them at the bank?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to get them at the bank just to be a total dick because they don't have a drawer for them in the cash register. So I'd pay with $2 bills, and you'd see these cashiers, these clerks they'd be mad. They'd have to take your money because it's legal currency. But I'd go in on a Saturday morning and be like, yeah, I want, $20 and $2 bills. And they'd just give me, a couple stacks of them. And that and Susan B's. I'd get a roll of Susan B. Anthony's because they wouldn't have a drawer for those either, a little slot for those. So I'd pay with $2 bills and Susan B. Anthony's just to be a little dick. But there were people that were holding on to those things. Yeah. as collector's item. The thing is, everybody and their brothers got one. Now there are some certain ones that are more rare. So was he trying to buy consecutive $2 bills, or
You would just
the
buy
ones with the red stamp on them, or
you buy what there was.
Was he paying with
DJ
counterfeit $3 bills?
DJ was just flexing his $2 bill.
hey, if any of you guys
I-
ever got change back and you got a steel penny?
No.
Boy, that's been a while. That has been a long while. But yeah, I love $2 bills. $2 bills will get attention, and I also like to carry or at least have a small supply of the Sacagaweas because it's gold. And when you give that to a kid and see their eyes light up and they look at their parents, or or they look at you and they're just like, "Is this real?" I mean, they're not even thinking it's a balloon, but they are thinking this is gold. And like the fascination that, I mean, I'm not expecting each one of these kids to grow up to be a numismatist or something like that, but that fascination with our currency is something that I still, I got that roll of Susan B sitting right there. I snagged that from the bank. So, and $2 bills by the band, I'll grab those. Love leaving those as tips.
DJ, can you still get Sacagawea coins at the bank?
Yes.
I'm rubbing my hands together. Yeah, I remember.
You can get, sorry, Squid, but you can get like a surprising number of things just by requesting. And I don't know how, like if there's a Federal Reserve like nearby, like almost every major city, we happen to have one. I don't think that, from talking to other people, I don't think that it's just exclusive to us because we're nearby one kind of thing. But several different places where I've banked, just making the request, they will at their next order, or at least the ones I've worked with have been willing on their next order from the Federal Reserve to order up kind of whatever you want.
So
Yeah, when I went to the bank to request Susan B's and $2 bills, it was back in the 1980s. So I really haven't, played those silly games since then. But Sacagawea coins would be just something kind of neat to keep in with. I mean, I keep change in with the cash. So why not a roll of those?
So, where do you put the Sacagawea in the stripper's G-string? Do you put it in the front slot or in the back slot?
And you are a cheap tipper.
Man, you don't make it rain, you make it hail. That's the thing. You either peel mud, you peel paper to make it rain, or you toss coins to make it hail.
Now, I will say in the Philippines, you use quarters, but I mean,
Yeah, you stack them 6 high and then make her use an orifice.
Oh, you've been there too, Subic Bay.
I thought that was ping pong.
All BFMs.
Still, though, the fact that there's unconventional currency is that's the American way. You got to have some little kind of stand out there. But I remember, along with getting paid change back in Canadian coins back in the 80s when I was a teenager, I remember one time I got steel pennies. And I didn't even know what they were, and I had to ask my second stepdad, I think, or something, what they were. And then, now you go to like Littleton Coin or whatever, and you get a 3-pack of them for nothing. And there's tons of them out there from the 1940s. I'm sure I've got a set or two down in the gun safe, buried in the back underneath something. But yeah, it's interesting how just anything will be like Japanese currency. I remember Dad would come home from Okinawa, and he'd bring us back little 1 yen coins. This is just a 1 penny coin, but it's a yen and it's aluminum. So if you could use pretty much anything and make currency as long as it spends. Who cares?
It'd be cool to melt those down and make an AR-15 out of them.
I'd rather do beer cans, but that's just because of the effort, You
kind of have to go for the older copper penny coins to get the rust off your guns, though.
I just watched a video a month ago or so. Guy talking about that, rubbing the penny on to get the rust off.
Yeah, the newer ones have more like zinc and whatnot in them, so you can't really rub them on your rust spots on your guns to get them out. Or you can get the copper scour pads at the market, the supermarket, which will have the same effect. But copper has an amazing effect on rust if you have any rust problems on your guns, if you don't have proper humidity mitigation in your safe and whatnot.
Now, we use copper scouring pads to clean between the flights on a screw in a plastic injection molding machine because it's polished, hardened steel. And we're trying to get the plastic off and not scrape up the steel because these things are so expensive. I never really considered them for cleaning off corrosion.
Oh yeah, copper is great for getting rid of corrosion on any metal surface with the proper oil and lubrication.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we don't put any oil on them. We just high speed kind of wrap them around a steel brush, and we just wrap this gauze, copper gauze. It's like a Brillo pad, but in roll gauze. We wrap layers and layers around, and we'll use it to clean the inside of the barrel that the screw in the machine runs in. So it's a hardened steel barrel. Looks like a cannon barrel, right? And this screw is polished steel, and it looks like a giant, like a deck screw almost. It's shaped like a baseball bat, but it's got flights in it, and they're spread apart, and it's all polished steel. And we use the same copper gauze, to polish that, to remove any of the tiny little pieces of plastic without damaging it. So I guess if it can do that, then yeah, why not rust, right?
Yeah, I was at the range today and I saw just a penny sitting there. I think it was from like 1981. I'm like, oh, somebody had this on them, a fellow 2A guy that used it for like rust mitigation and whatnot. So he obviously left there. So I'm like, I'll take it. I'll take this copper penny to, before they added the zinc to it for my rust purposes.
I can remember using pennies in the 70s on slot car tracks. After they get a little bit of corrosion, just running a penny across that would brighten them up right away.
Yeah. And if you used ballastol works the best with in cooperation with the copper to get rid of the rust.
Right on. So I looked at Geezer Gary's comments out there, and I ran into the other room, and yeah, the size. Let's see, I'm horrible at this, but that is the Eisenhower dollar, and when we were kids, and he also mentions the Kennedy, like a Kennedy half dollar. So for size perspective, then, and I know this is like crap camera work, but it's like, there's your Eisenhower. God, you got me in the screen too. There's your Kennedy half, and that's a quarter. That happens to be a silver quarter, but the size perspective's there. And check this out. I forgot about this while we were talking about Sacagaweas, but you can get the presidential gold dollar coins too. That's Millard Fillmore. And then, of course, talked about Susan B.
Yeah, I bought ordered some of the presidential ones from the Mint when they first started coming out. Then I kind of forgot about it because I was waiting on the Nixon one. I wanted the Nixon one.
Nixon, I am not a crook.
Yeah, I still have half a roll of these Millard Fillmores. Not the most popular president.
Is that silver clad or is that solid silver?
The one that I was holding?
Yeah.
It's just geez, I am not a numismatist. It's the 70%, the ones that are 70%. Yeah.
Okay. Like I think the silver, like state coins and all the other the quarters that they've done over the years, one for each state and for national parks and other crap like that, those are clad. So it's just a plating on the outside. But some of the other ones, like the silver dollar, is what, 99.99 or something.
Yeah, well, and the Mint does strike 99.9 repeating silver coinage. That's another thing that you can order up.
I follow a couple metal detecting channels, and they buy quarters. I'm not so sure nowadays because there's a chain shortage, but they would buy quarters as they would come in by the roll from their local bank. Mm-hmm. Just hoping that they would get the silver coins within those rolls. Silver
searchers. Yeah, I'm aware of those as well. Silver searchers getting bags of the things. We just used to section out, wheat pennies, that kind of thing. Probably the most thrilling find when I was a kid, though, was the first time I ever saw a silver certificate. Never ran across a gold certificate, but I ran up to the grocery store for my mom, got this dollar bill that had the distinct blue. And that's how I learned that we once were on that standard and what it actually meant. But they're pretty damn cool.
That was
First
one
you can
thing
tell-
that is my years of cashiering is I didn't grab the junk silver that would come through. I would always you can hear it when it's mixed in with the change because it'll ring different, and you can kind of feel the weight is different. Yeah, I would set them aside and just look at them, but I never would buy them out of the till. It wasn't until years later that I realized, once they disappeared, because everybody had already, got them out of the circulation, that how many that I had missed that I could have had. And at the time, just didn't think about it.
Well, Foss, I want to thank you for having me on the panel, but I'm gonna head to bed.
Hey, thanks for toughing it out and jumping in.
Thanks for showing up, G.
Later,
Yep.
G23.
Y'all have a great night.
Later, 23.
And I can't resist because you offered that example, the difference in sound. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a regular quarter onto another coin up near my mic, so you can hear that. It's kind of a clunk, just that sound that everyone's familiar with. And now with that silver quarter, it's like,
It's got
I
an
don't know if that came through.
extra sound to it,
yeah, it's a little more ting coming out of it.
like almost a second ting to it.
Yeah, it's kind of neat when you take one of the pure silver rounds and then you hit it on the side and hear it ring, ding. So I've got some silver. I had to sell some to pay for a gun, but I'm not a silver stacker. I thought I wanted to do it, and then I realized I wasn't enjoying it. So I'll just buy the rounds that I think look nice, that interest me. So when I look at them, I get enjoyment out of looking at them.
See, I assumed it was because you got bit by a werewolf. You had to get rid of all your silver.
No, that's why he's so hairy.
No, I bought 44 Magnum Super Blackhawk. My accountant was not happy, so I sold off some silver to pay it off.
This is why you do your own taxes.
Well, I married an accountant for a reason.
Now, have you had that Super Blackhawk silver plated since then?
I have really thought about, after I watched one of the Brownells videos, their YouTube channel, about engraving. And the company that they had on showed some of the engraving they'd done. It's beautiful because I've got the stainless.
Can you plate stainless?
Uh,
I'm not sure you can.
Wouldn't think so. You'd have to scuff the hell out of it.
Talking engraving.
yeah, I was talking about silver plating. He just changed it to engraving, but silver plating is an outdated idea. Before there was nickel plating, and that nickel plating came way before chrome plating. They would actually silver plate revolvers. So if you see a little bit of shiny stuff underneath the grips or something on a real 19th century revolver, that's silver, because there was no process to nickel plate until the late 19th century. So if you ever see an original that's shiny and it's been maintained, it's not some hack job or some fake or forgery or something, that's silver. That's not nickel.
I like the look of nickel more than chrome.
Yeah.
So do I.
Nickel kind of has a duller finish, but it kind of has more of a, I don't know, it looks a little bit more blue collar.
We've got Midget with Carrot Cake out there. Good morning. So let me jump over real quick. Let me share something. The poll for the Let's Build a Rifle project. that we got going, and I'll let it go probably until Wednesday, and then maybe close it out. And there we go. So right now there's 63 votes, and it's for what barrel length, and 49% say 16 inch. So right now 16 inch is winning. I'm guessing that's what we're going to end up with. For those who might not know, I'm building a 450 Bushmaster, but letting everybody vote on different choices for the rifle, and then we'll kind of see what we end up with. Just thought it would be kind of fun to do a group project. I ordered the upper for it because everybody decided to stick with mostly Aero Precision. So the lower is Aero Precision, and I ordered the XL Aero Precision upper. So I should get that here in a week or so.
So why did you decide to go with that round over all other choices?
Well, it's one that I've kind of wanted to do just because it's kind of stupid. You know, if you're in a straight wall state where you can only hunt with straight wall, you know, then it makes more sense. But for me, it was just kind of, you know, I wanted to build another one. I've kind of always wanted a big one. I like, you know, big and loud and recoil and all that stuff. So I went with the bigger round just because.
You won't
There's
be
another
disappointed.
benefit. We live in Washington, so we got the 10 round mag limit. So he'll actually be able to buy magazines now.
Yep, I have. They're out in the mailbox. I didn't go to the mail today, but 2 5-round magazines, which are probably like maybe 15 rounds at 5.56. So right now we're with 16 inch for the barrel, which, you know, I kind of thought, but so far it's shaping up to be everybody's building the rifle that I was going to originally build anyways.
You won't be disappointed. The downside to 450 Bushmaster, honestly, is the cost of the ammo. That's really it. Otherwise, I haven't seen any sort of real downside to it. There are a variety of barrels out there. There are a variety of uppers. I mean, you can put any grip or stock or optic or blah, 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 blah. And even with the ammo, over time, there's been a greater variety of ammo, especially if you reload. You can, sky's the limit. But recoil, it's not what people think. Blast, it's not what people think. And that thing shoots flat. That thing shoots really flat.
And is that the most common platform for that round, the AR platform?
You can get into bolt action for less money, honestly. You can get a Mossberg Patriot with an optic on it for less money than some of the uppers alone if you catch them on sale. Just buy it and you're ready to go. You know, but the thing is, you go buy a box of ammo, it's $45, $50. You're going, dang. But
yeah,
I mean,
42 last time I looked at.
You can sight it in, you know, with a couple rounds if you know what you're doing, and still have plenty to hunt with. Because if you've got it sighted in, whatever you point at, you're going to kill with one shot. We had one kid in our hunting party that cut a fawn in half with a 450 Bushmaster at 270 yards. He could see it in the optic, but he couldn't tell that it wasn't full grown. He just saw a deer, and he hit it in the midsection. And I mean, when we went out to the field, that thing was mutilated. And they use a rangefinder, 270 yards. I said, I got to have one of these. And I bumped the scope on my 44 Magnum. That Henry rifle is a great hunting rifle, but I bumped the scope. So every time I'd miss and miss and miss, my buddy loaned me his 450 Bushmaster bolt action, and everything I pointed it at just killed it right there, just dropped everything. And I said, I got to have one of these. I have a situation where some of the places I hunt, if I don't put it down right where it's at, it's going to go on somebody else's or state land. When I killed that first deer, and I tell the story about the mag dump I did, and when I say the mag dump, people are thinking I had like 7 or 8 rounds in a mag. I had 5 rounds in a mag. Actually, I had 3 in the first mag and 5 in the second. but I was literally shooting to stop the threat. I was trying to stop the deer from running onto the neighbor's property, and I literally chased it through the woods on the neighbor's property. And this thing was dead. It just didn't realize it. And I took out this leg and that leg, and I was going to go for a headshot, but my wife said, "Bring me back its head." So I didn't know the taxidermist could fix a head because the taxidermist told me, he goes, "Yeah, if you shot it through the eyes, or cracked its skull or whatever, it's no problem. I can make your mount work." And I didn't know that because this is the first time. But my wife literally said, "Whatever you get, bring me back its head." And this thing had antlers and everything. So I'm trying not to do a headshot because I would have just put it down with one shot. And I'm blasting away at this thing, and I put 3 rounds of 44 through it and 5 more rounds of 45 ACP before it stopped moving, because and people think that I dumped like 500 rounds into this dang thing. But the main reason I did it was trying to get away, go onto the neighbor's land. And most of the properties in Michigan I have to hunt on, I'm literally right on the corner, and state lands to the left, neighbor's lands to the right, neighbor's a jerk or whatever. So I have to put this thing down. So if I hit it 2, 3, 4 times, it's to get it to stop moving, because if it crosses that line, I'm screwed. And with the 450 Bushmaster, you don't have that problem. When it hits it, you even hit it near the heart, it doesn't matter. That thing will fall and it will not get back up. So if you're hunting on a narrow strip of land, I absolutely recommend the 450 Bushmaster, because at 270 yards or less, it's going to shoot flat. It's going to, what you point at, it's going to hit. I've personally used it, and I was so impressed, to the point where I bought reload stuff for it. And I've got everything I need, except DJ Play Nice won the upper. So I got to buy my own, dick.
It happens. It shined on me that day.
It did.
So you're not allowed to use bottleneck cartridges up there?
So Michigan has 3 zones. It's so retarded here. So on the west side of the state, it's like shotgun only or something. Down here where I'm at, it is bottleneck or shotgun or handgun. I literally killed a deer with my 1911, and it was legal. I just pulled it out right between the eyes, fell down. And I'm like, good, done. But up north, you can use anything. So I got one with my M1 Garand up north. That was kind of nice. Thing got away, but we found it later. The coyotes ate good that night, but we found the wound, and it's like, but yeah. So Michigan's cut into 3 zones, and it's really confusing. The laws here are, and what's stupid is, in the same places in southern Michigan where I have to use a straight wall, I can use a bottleneck to kill a coyote. Now explain me that. So I can be less than 400 yards away from another structure and shoot with an AR-15 and kill a coyote, and that's legal. But if I do it with a deer, I have to have a straight wall. Right.
Yeah, the laws are weird everywhere you go.
Yeah, they're just way weird. And I understand the safety behind it. I get it. But they made the 450 Bushmaster and a 350 Legend strong enough to reach out and touch someone at distances these bottleneck cartridges can. Now, obviously not 1,000 yards, right? Unless you arc the heck out of it. But the thing is, they made the law based off the case length, and then later an engineer goes, "Hold my beer." So if you're going to get a 450 Bushmaster, you're actually kind of future-proofing your gun. If that law becomes a situation where you're at, or you move, or you just want something that's going to put it down. If it'll drop a deer on adrenaline, with nothing, I would think it would drop a perp on adrenaline with nothing.
I've seen because I'm limited to pretty much 12 gauge every place I hunt. I've seen what a 12 gauge slug does to, especially these 1 1/4 ounce slugs that I have. I've seen what that does to a body of a deer. It's amazing. It's overkill, and you should not be limited to that in these areas that you hunt. You should absolutely be able to hunt with a rifle round, especially like a 30-30 or a 45-70 or whatever. Because there's plenty of science that prove that a slug goes just as far in the deep woods as a rifle round, such as the 30-30 or a 45-70. It's just overkill to be limited to a 12 gauge slug. That just does so much damage.
The irony, pacifist, is the places I hunt in the southern part of the state where I have to use a straight wall cartridge, I can take a 450-yard shot, right? But that cartridge just ain't going to do it. Where I go up north, where I can use a bottleneck that'll reach out to 1,000 yards, I'm taking 72-yard shots at the most. So the irony is the terrain. I'm not saying there aren't farms up north, but there's plenty more woods up there than there is down here. And the deer population down here is crazy. For every one you drop, 4 more pop out of the ground. It's nuts. So I would love to have bottleneck cartridge down here. And if I hit a house, then arrest me, put me in jail. I'm that confident that I will not point it in an unsafe direction. When I can see everything out there and I can see that that house is, so many 100 yards to the right of where I'm shooting and it's 1,500 yards downrange, then, I'm pointing over here. There's trees, there's a hill, there's backstops. Let me use my own judgment. I understand there are people that go out there, they drink, they don't care if it's brown, it's down, blah, 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 and they will. But they're penalizing me because of that. And I could have harvested probably 2 more deer last year if I could have used a bottleneck down here.
Yeah, it's in like the type of ammunition that you're limited to in these certain areas is inhumane. Like limited to a 12 gauge slug. Are you kidding me? That literally, if you don't hit a deer straight through the heart, through their body, their torso, if you even catch like the shoulder on the other side, it's going to completely blow it out and you lose a whole roast. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah, because I've butchered my own deer and I've said, yep, this is where I hit it here. And that damn thing got up and tried to crawl away. This is where I hit it here. And the damn thing got up and crawled away. And they're persistent around here. They won't die easy, or they'll go run. They're like, I'm going to go die in the swamp because you can't find me. But I'd rather have that ethical kill, and I'd rather have 1 shot, 1 kill. That's the way I was trained in the military, 1 shot, 1 kill. And 450 Bushmaster is 1 shot, 1 kill. So I recommend it to anybody. And the recoil is not that bad. It really isn't.
Were you going to say something, DJ? I saw you unmute over there. Nope. Guess not.
Anything?
Yeah,
but
sorry about that.
I'm sorry, DJ.
Go ahead. No, that's all right.
Just one final point. Anything but a 12 gauge makes way more sense on a deer.
And deer across the river in Iowa, okay, across the Missouri, it's a straight wall state. And so I was always confused by that. I mean, okay, shotgun, muzzle loading, and they're zoned out, like Squib was saying about Michigan. It's like in some areas, that's what the limitation is. Nebraska is like really, really different from that. I mean, for God's sake, you can use, it's in the regs, you can use a hand-thrown spear to harvest a deer in Nebraska.
What?
Yeah.
What?
You can. I mean, I don't know if anybody's going to throw it.
So we're going to expect a video, DJ.
Not for me, man. But yeah, it's just interesting that there were so many differences between states and Midwest, and just between us. And talking to barbecue, the differences they have in Pennsylvania as well. I mean, we're talking about a standardization when it comes to things like national carry, reciprocity, those sort of concepts. And I mean, I understand that each state, and I'm going to stump for states' rights kind of thing, but it seems like that there could be a greater meeting of the minds, particularly for something that's as specific as hunting. Like when Squib mentioned 1 shot, 1 kill, that is the goal. Humane harvest is the goal. And so and you got the consideration of not being able to gather in your entire harvest when if you're like blowing out that roast, like you were just saying too, man. So it's some crazy fucking exceptions that are made that I just they're boggling sometimes.
Well, to deal with the illogical legislation on hunting laws here in Michigan, I recommend 450 Bushmaster everywhere. Yep, it'll fuck up your Sunday.
So the last deer I took, I was in a tree stand. He stepped out. He was behind like a tree that had two trunks coming off of it, so I could see his head from behind it. And so I just trained my sight in the direction he was going. He stepped out. I shot him through the heart. Perfect heart shot, but he must have been stepping forward, or I was at a slight angle. So his back shoulder, with it was a 12 gauge, 1¼ inch sabot slug through a rifled barrel on my Remington 870, and he fell down. He fell down immediately, like just completely dead. I waited 5 minutes, went down there. I grabbed his front legs to move him, to gut him, and his left leg was just completely just free floating because that slug completely destroyed his right shoulder, just gone. That's the type of damage that a 12 gauge slug does to a deer, and you should not ever be limited to hunting with just that. You should have the option to hunt with many different things, even if it's a pistol caliber, to take a deer and salvage as much of that meat as you can, because I lost that entire roast. And the front, a lot of people disregard the front shoulder roasts, but those are pretty good roasts. If you cook them in a crock pot, slow cook them over the course of like 8 hours or whatnot, it's really tender meat. It's pretty good. A lot of people disregard those, but it's a really good roast.
Now, I've investigated the wounds from the 44 Magnum and the 44 Special plus P plus, and if it hits in the joint, the ball and socket joint of the leg, it just shatters it and it's done. It's toast. If it goes right through the meat, you can literally cut out the dark spot and you still have most of the roast intact. The rounds I use that I've put through my Henry have all been hot, whether they've been factory or my hand loads. And these things cut right through these deer like a hot knife through butter. So I would say that if you're going to use a straight wall, use something that is cooking. If you hit them in a critical spot, they're going to go down. They may not go down right away, and I don't want to chase them either, especially since, like I said, the places I hunt, they could run onto the neighbor's land. I had one run 90 or 100 yards into the ditch and fall into the ditch, and I had to go through all these thorns and all this crap to get him. Then when he's in the water, it's freezing freaking cold, and I was cussing this dead deer out as I'm dragging him back up the hill to where the tree stand was, but I will say that if you have a round that does cut right through them, right, it's got the velocity, then even if the meat gets damaged, it's a minimal amount of damage.
So I went ahead and I pulled up the regs for deer hunting in Nebraska, and there are 10 bullet points under legal weapons for firearm season. And I'm not going to read them all, but some of these, just like the specificity that's contained herein is amusing. 22 caliber or larger rifle that delivers at least 900 foot-pounds of energy at 100 yards. Okay, here's the mention of the hand-thrown spear. A 357 Magnum rifle, 45 Colt rifle, and hand-thrown spear are legal. Stuff like this, though. Handguns or muzzle-loading handguns that deliver at least 400 foot-pounds of energy at 50 yards. I mean, who's going to go out and meter these things? And like attendant to the muzzle loading, you can do muskets, but they have to be 62 caliber or larger, firing a single slug. Same thing with shotguns and the like. The bow thing is kind of interesting. I don't know why they have these under firearm, but longbow, compound bow, recurve bow, shoulder-fired non-electronic crossbow, but it has to be with a draw weight of at least 125 pounds. So, like all of those things, it seems to me that there might have been, there had to be some intelligent discourse about why they made those choices. And I got to guess that some of those things, because they're dealing with, foot-pounds of, they're dealing with energy and distance, would be because they wanted whatever was used to be humane. That's what I'm going to guess, at least. But there's a guitar store next to a DNR office. I might drop in and ask those questions, and do a report back on that. It's kind of interesting now.
The best thing about New York. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The best thing about New York is you get your tags online. You have to, like, unlike New Hampshire, does are like a prize commodity out there. So you have to enter a lottery to get doe tags. The earlier you enter, and depending on what zone that you're hunting in, you can get up to 2 doe tags. But the best thing about New York is everything is online. Like you kill a deer, you tag it. Chances are you're never going to run into a game officer, and you register it online. You don't have to take it to a station. Like here in New Hampshire, when you kill a deer, you have to take obviously you can gut it, but then you can't even skin it. You got to take it to a station to have it weighed and measured and this and that and blah 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 before you can even skin it. And anybody who's hunted deer, you know that you want to skin it while it's still warm because it's much easier to skin it. So that's the one thing that New York, the most regulative state in the entire country, besides California, as far as I'm concerned, that's the one good thing about that is that you do everything online. And people kill multiple deer per year and probably never even register them online. But yeah, in New York, you can kill it, you can gut it, you can skin it all in the same day. Set it up for a couple days and then butcher it, and you just enter it online, and it's up to you. It's all like personal recognizance as far as that goes.
Yeah, there's something similar in Michigan. You can do stuff online or you can go to the stations, but I have to drive 2 hours to the nearest station. It used to be 20 minutes away, but our bitch governor decided to close a bunch of them and hasn't put the money into reopening them. I usually just go to get my patch and just record it, but it's not required. You can do stuff online. You can fudge this and fudge that as long as you got a tag in their ear when you drop them at the butcher. And if you butcher them yourself, you ain't got to do jack.
Right.
So
me and my uncle-
there's a
me
lot
and
of
my uncle
opportunity
butchered them ourselves.
to violate the law because they're looking at money. We want your money for the permit, but we don't want to spend any money to process it if you actually bag a deer. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. I am the effing taxpayer. You're going to do your job.
Yeah, me and my uncle butcher them ourselves. And if you take it to a butcher, like some days I'll go out there. I usually go out Thanksgiving week. And since I've had kids, it's kind of an abbreviated week. I'll go out there like a half a week. And so if I kill a deer with less than, 3 days, then I'll take it to a place that debones it. They do it right outside his local gun shop. They debone it, and then I take it to the butcher to have it butchered. Other than that, if I have 3 days, we do it ourselves. And if you get a spike buck, then you have to do yourselves. If the spikes are under 3 inches, then you have to tag it as a doe. And if you don't have a doe permit,
Yeah.
you better be doing that yourself. Even though it has a penis, if the spikes are less than 3 inches, it's tagged as a doe.
Yeah, same in Michigan. Yeah, and DJ, with regard to the black powder ruling there. Now, with the spear, man, I ain't going there. I mean, I could duct tape a Rambo knife to a broomstick and hope for the best. But with the black powder, there's something on my bucket list I've been wanting to do, and that is take a deer with my walker. That thing is designed to drop a horse, and it hits hard. The problem is it's not accurate like a modern gun. You line up the sights on that deer, you better be pretty dang close. Now, there are some places where I've been as close as 30 yards away from a deer. That's where I'm going to pull the walker. So I'm considering taking my walker with me as my sidearm instead of my 1911. Even though 1911's got 2 deer underneath it, I'm thinking about taking my walker. And if the deer get close enough and I don't have to use a rifle, just going for it and doing that. But that's going to have the most muzzle energy of any black powder revolver out there. So I should be able to fit that requirement if that were the case here in Michigan. I don't understand where they're coming up with some of these measurements, but I'm sure there's some logical whatever behind it. It's just like the straight wall cartridge law. There's logic behind it, but in practical use, it's kind of pointless, and all you do is sell guns at the end of the day.
Well, speaking of pointless, you got a shot up there with that walker because you're in the land of trees. There isn't any self-respecting deer in Iowa or Nebraska that is going to fall for that at those ranges. We just don't have it. We're devoid of them.
Yeah, you guys take those long distance sniper shots out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you were talking about cartridge choice and knowing what the fall off was going to be, what your ranges are going to be for some of the cartridges earlier in the discussion, it's like, well, I've never even thought about that because it's all just clean and clear. And those were also in days where I was using someone else's firearm, so I was relying on them to make the choices for me.
The closest I got to a deer in Nebraska was about 70 yards. I was up on top of Scotts Bluff, and there was a buck right there. And I popped my head over the hill, and he seen me, and I ducked back down, and I looked up, and he moved a little. And I was trying to I wasn't hunting. I was just playing like I was. And I'm like, how did this thing get all the way up here? First off, how did it get up on the bluff? And then secondly, he saw me. Dang. But I was kind of playing with this buck. I also went over to Chimney Rock, and I was trying to get on the trail to go out to the formation. And up on the hill, there were some cows, some cattle, and off to the left of them, there were these deer. And you could tell they were deer right away because of the way they moved. And I'm like, these boys in Nebraska need a bolt-action, high-powered rifle with a scope, or they're not bringing home anything. It's not the same as hunting in Michigan. It just isn't.
So when you say 450 is flat shooting, how far are you shooting?
The furthest I've ever seen or heard of it hitting, point of aim, point of impact, is 270 yards. And at 270 yards, it literally cut a doe in half. Looked like a shark bit the thing.
That's farther than I would have expected to be flat.
Not a doe. I meant a fawn. A fawn. So it's small, right? Bigger than a German Shepherd, but smaller than a full-size deer. Cut a fawn in half at 270 yards. Point of impact, point of aim. Now, I've never heard or seen anybody do it any further. I haven't tried it I haven't had to. I did take a shot at 450 yards with a 450 Bushmaster, and I did like a 2-foot holdover. Bad idea. I should have probably done like 8 feet or something.
So Pacifist is showing his meat on camera.
Not the first time. Most people disregard the neck roast, but the neck roast can be
Oh yeah, it's good. I've got a neck roast video. It's good.
So when people bake them in the oven, they kind of ruin them because it's hard to separate the callow from the meat within a neck roast. But if you kind of sear them to begin with on high heat and then put them in a slow roast, it doesn't melt into the meat. Now this is really good steaks. My aunt has a what do you call that? The geez, I can't think of the name of it.
Vacuum sealer.
A vacuum sealer. Thank you, Baron. I appreciate that. So she finishes the meat. Like me and my uncle, we go through the membrane. Like if you separate the meat from the membrane, like a lot of the membrane that butchers leave in there because they use bandsaws gives a gamey taste to the meat. But if you go along the lines of the membrane and separate the meat from the membrane and then finish it with an electric knife and then vacuum seal it, it's good for like 3 years.
True that.
And
yeah, that's good knife work is important.
Like with hunting, it's all about the kill. If you kill it so you don't have the adrenaline running through. If you kill it properly, no adrenaline. If you butcher it properly, separate the membrane from the meat, and you don't run a bandsaw through the bone because the fragments from the bone into the meat also adds gamey flavor. So the kill and the butcher and the way you cook it, you cannot tell the difference between a good cut of venison and a really good cut of beef. You can't. I mean, the venison's obviously going to be a little bit more lean, but as far as like, marinating it and cooking it on a grill at high heat, you can't fucking tell the difference. It's just as good.
I put it in the crotch pot and I make a spicy habanero roast. That neck roast is so good.
Yeah, if you are doing a dry method of cooking, you have to be really, really careful with venison because you could jack it up in seconds, kind of thing. So yeah, grilling is the way that most of my friends are inclined to do it. That or doing a cast iron, blazing hot, super sear it, kind of thing. But yeah, wet method for some of the small, the off bits or smaller cuts. A lot of folks do that too.
I'm sorry. Did you finish, TJ?
Yeah, you're cool.
The like when you go along the top side of the deer, along either side of the spine, you have that's the best cut, in my opinion. Besides the tenderloins up on the inside, those things they're so tender you can eat them within the same day. You don't have to let them age for a couple days. And those ones I just put in salt water to kind of, make them edible. But the ones on the top side of the deer, the steaks that you can just rip out and then you cut them to whatever width you want to cut them. Those ones I'll marinate them for a couple days and then I'll cook them on copper mats on a grill. You get the grill as hot as it can go, put a copper mat down and grill them for like 5 minutes each side so they're just a little bit red on the inside. Best steak you'll ever have.
So you must hate neck shots.
Yeah, neck roasts they're pretty good. Most people disregard the front roasts and the neck, but everything on a deer itself, even the ribs, like the meat inside the ribs, it's a lot of work to get in there and do that. But if you dry them out and make jerky out of them, they're really good. And most people, even like the bits they throw to the side and then get ground into hamburg at the butcher, they have mixed with pork meat or pork fat, I should say. I don't mix my venison with pork fat at all. If you cook it right, you don't need to do that. You don't need to spoil the flavor of your venison.
The best I had was probably in high school. I don't know where off the deer it was. A friend of mine, we had a forestry class, so we'd be outside for the hour that the class was, and we started a fire, and we marinated some cubes that he had venison and just stuck them on sticks and cooked them over the fire, and that's probably the best deer that I've had, was just doing that.
Yeah.
Were you planning on doing any hunting with your 450 build, or
Me?
just for fun? Yeah.
No, just for fun. I don't hunt.
So are you gonna use that when you come visit me to hunt?
What, do I need to use it on you? Is that?
Did I mince my words?
Yeah, it's there wasn't really a purpose other than I wanted to build another rifle.
To hunt the most dangerous game.
I have 1,086 acres that I have right of way on that we can hunt each other.
Each other? 2 men enter, 1 man leaves?
Live stream it.
2 men enter, 1 couple leaves.
We can live stream it, bro.
Brokeback pacifist. All right. Well, we hit the 2-hour mark. I think we might close her down here. So DJ, anything you want to plug?
On the Guns and Barbecue channel, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Thursday in the evening, Wednesday in the afternoon. Come and check out a chat. And until I see y'all again, be safe, have fun, carry your guns, and rock.
Pacifist, anything you want to plug?
I'm trying to stay active with my YouTube channel, but I don't have the money to, buy the latest and greatest to get the views. But I'm making an effort. I appreciate it, DM Foss.
I appreciate you coming on. And Squib, any parting words before we take off here?
No, thanks for the invite. Probably the one and only time I'll be on the show. It's just the stars aligned, and I was able to stay up till 4:02 in the morning Eastern time. I know it's still yesterday where you're at, but yeah, I appreciate the invite because this is a rare opportunity and definitely a good panel to be a part of. Thank you very much.
No, I appreciate you coming on. It's good to have you on. Baron, anything for you?
I have a request for the audience. If anyone knows where I can get an A1 or A2 upper receiver, join the Gilded server. I just put the link out there. And please tell me where to find one, because I cannot find one anywhere.
Brownells and Delton are the only two that I know that are making them, and they're probably both out of stock.
Yep.
Yeah, you're kind of screwed.
And of course, I forgot to do all the pre-show talking that I'm supposed to do. So I appreciate everybody that's been out there in the live chat participating, and those who might have been watching but not participating. I appreciate you too. Those who watch this in replay, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know that you're out there watching. Anything that we talked about, we can kind of keep the conversation going. If we got, if you agree with something we said, if you disagree with something we said, leave a comment and let me know. And for everybody that's been on the panel, I appreciate it. I didn't really have any clear topic or anywhere I wanted to go for tonight. So I think we had the right people on because it went well. That 2 hours went by pretty fast. Other than that, there's in the description, there's another link for the Gilded server. It's kind of like Discord, kind of like a forum, place to hang out, chit chat with each other, share memes, commune with one another. But I think that's everything. Again, appreciate everybody watching, everybody participating, everybody on the panel. And lost my outro. Hold on, everybody, hold on. Hold your water. All right. So everybody have a good night. And if you're still up in 6 hours, Gizzard Gary will be doing a chat, his Sunday morning chat. It's an open lobby. It's a place to hang out and chit chat about whatever they want to chit chat about. So other than that, hope everybody has a good day.
You still here? It's over. Go home.